Hollywood stories often hide even juicier drama behind the scenes. Take Nancy Culp and Buddy Ebsen. Before the Beverly Hillbillies made them famous, their lives were already full of remarkable twists. Nancy wasn't your typical starlet. Born in Pennsylvania, raised in Miami, she earned a journalism degree and wrote for a local paper, interviewing big names like Clark Gable and royalty. Then World War II called, and she joined the U.S. Naval Reserve, rising to lieutenant. Buddy, on the other hand, was a dancer from Orlando with big dreams. He and his sister toured vaudeville, and he eventually made it to Broadway and Hollywood, working with Shirley Temple and even helping Walt Disney animate Mickey Mouse. But his big break turned dangerous. Cast as the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, the toxic makeup nearly killed him, and he lost the role. During World War II, he also taught naval officers and sailed, showing resilience through life's challenges. Now imagine Nancy and Buddy, two very different people with their own quirks and drive. By the 1950s, Nancy had moved to Hollywood, briefly married, and worked in MGM's publicity before a director noticed her. She started landing small roles, from a maid on I Love Lucy to a tipsy waitress on Maverick. Nancy wasn't a leading lady, but her sharp wit and no-nonsense style made her memorable. Buddy was busy building his TV career, known for playing folksy, down-to-earth characters audiences loved. Reliable and easygoing, he was carving out his niche. By the late 50s, their paths began crossing in Hollywood, though they weren't working together yet. Nancy had a reputation for being smart and outspoken, while Buddy was more traditional and old school. Both were chasing their big break. Nancy leaned into quirky, unique roles, and Buddy bounced between westerns, dramas, and comedies, even playing darker villains at times. By the early 60s, they'd both made their mark, but hadn't yet found their signature roles. Then came the Beverly Hillbillies. The show took off, charming millions with its funny, fish-out-of-water story about a backwoods family suddenly living in Beverly Hills. Nancy was cast as Jane Hathaway, the efficient, bird-loving secretary, perfectly suited for the role. Buddy landed Jed Clampett, the warm, wise family patriarch. Together, they anchored a hit show that mixed simple country ways with Beverly Hills extravagance, creating endless laughs and unforgettable TV moments. Right in the heart of the Beverly Hillbillies was Nancy Culp as Miss Jane. Not just any secretary, but smart, loyal, and often the voice of reason when her boss, Mr. Drysdale, got greedy. She cared deeply about the Clampetts, especially Jed's nephew Jethro, and her subtle crush on him added warmth and humor to the role. Nancy even earned an Emmy nomination for her performance. Buddy Ebsen's Jed Clampett was just as iconic. The calm, steady glue holding the family together amidst Granny's mischief, Ellie Mae's charm, and Jethro's wild schemes. Jed's famous catchphrase, "Doggies," became a pop culture staple, but behind the scenes, Nancy and Buddy didn't share the same warmth. Their clashing personalities and political views created real tension. Buddy was openly conservative. Nancy leaned liberal. According to castmates, their disagreements sometimes sparked heated debates that lasted for weeks. Still, both stayed professional on set. The show was a huge hit, often topping the ratings, and millions tuned in weekly to watch the Clampetts' hilarious misadventures. Nancy's Miss Jane became beloved for being relatable, hardworking, sensible, and caught up in the chaos. Buddy's Jed was the steady hand guiding them through it all, keeping viewers hooked episode after episode. Despite their success, the tension between Nancy and Buddy never really faded. Some say it even got worse over time. It wasn't just politics, it was a clash of strong personalities. Nancy was sharp and unyielding, while Buddy was charming but stubborn. With so many scenes together, the friction was hard to hide. Ellie Mae herself said they'd argue for weeks over their differences, yet both kept it professional, making sure the show stayed on track. Audiences never saw the underlying frustration, just the perfect chemistry on screen. When the Beverly Hillbillies ended, its legacy was secure, a cultural touchstone still remembered today. But for Nancy and Buddy, their story didn't end there. Nancy switched gears, diving into politics. At 62, She ran as a Democrat for Pennsylvania's 9th Congressional District in 1984, a tough race in a staunchly Republican area. She campaigned hard despite the uphill battle. Then came the shocker. Buddy Ebsen, with no ties to the district, recorded a radio ad supporting her opponent, calling Nancy too liberal and accusing her of using fame to influence voters. It wasn't just politics anymore. It felt personal. Nancy was blindsided. For years, Nancy and Buddy had clashed, but Buddy's political attack felt like a deeper betrayal. Nancy didn't hold back later, saying Buddy had no business interfering. "He's not the kindly old Jed Clampett you saw on TV," she said, her frustration clear. Though they'd never gotten along, she would never have done something like that to him. The hurt in her voice lingered for years. The ad hurt Nancy's campaign badly. She lost by a wide margin, with her opponent winning over 66% of the vote. She didn't blame Buddy outright, but couldn't shake the sting. To heal, she left Pennsylvania for a while before returning once she'd processed it all. Buddy stood by his actions at the time, but as years passed, he expressed regret over how their feud spiraled out of control. Sadly, their relationship never fully healed. They had little contact after the campaign, and any reconciliation was brief. Nancy found peace in teaching, becoming an artist in residence at Juniata College, a quiet liberal arts school in Pennsylvania. There, she inspired countless students with her humor, warmth, and passion for acting, helping them believe the stage was for everyone. Away from Hollywood and politics, Nancy built a community that valued her insight and kindness. Students admired her not just for fame, but for her dedication to nurturing talent. She shared stories of the Beverly Hillbillies with a smile, mixing advice on life and art. She stayed connected to acting through local theater and occasional TV appearances, never fully leaving the craft she loved. But beyond the spotlight, Nancy lived a vibrant life, deeply connected to the people around her. In 1990, Nancy faced a tough new challenge when she was diagnosed with cancer. But true to form, she stayed determined, continuing to teach and stay active in her community as long as she could. Friends remembered her as brave and strong, qualities she had shown all her life. She passed away in 1991, leaving behind a legacy far richer than just Miss Jane Hathaway. Buddy Ebsen followed his own path, continuing to act after the Beverly Hillbillies ended. He starred in the detective series Barnaby Jones for several years, keeping his place in the public eye. Yet no matter what roles he took, people always saw Jed Clampett first. Buddy accepted this with grace, embracing the character's homespun charm and iconic catchphrase, even if it meant being typecast. Privately, it wasn't always easy to be remembered mainly for one role after a varied career. Still, Buddy often appeared at events and interviews, happily sharing stories about his Hollywood days and even the infamous feud with Nancy in his memoir. Beyond acting, Buddy was a talented sailor and writer, finding creative outlets outside the spotlight. He enjoyed a long marriage to his third wife, Dorothy Knott, and spent his later years surrounded by family. Buddy lived to the impressive age of 95, passing away in 2003. By then, most of his contemporaries were gone, and he was one of the last living links to TV's golden age. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lives on through countless reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies and the memories of those who worked with him. Looking back, their story was a collision of two strong personalities who never quite found common ground. Yet together, they created television magic that still endures. Both Nancy and Buddy were passionate, talented, and fiercely opinionated, which made their personal differences difficult to bridge. Yet, despite the rift between them, the magic they created on screen is undeniable. As Jed and Miss Jane, they brought laughter, warmth, and unforgettable charm to millions of viewers, a true testament to their professionalism and talent. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos, and don't forget to press the bell icon.